Hello everyone, this is Eye on Africa for Friday, August 27th. Here are the headlines. Joy and relief for the families of more than 100 children released from captivity in northern Nigeria. We'll go live to Lagos in just a moment. Also coming up, we'll have more on the ongoing volcano threat in Goma, an early look at this week's episode of Reporters. And from a wasteland for the rich to a green oasis, all thanks to the hard work of a few residents of Nairobi's Dandora district. But first, our top story tonight. It was a day of relief and unbridled joy for the families of 90 children abducted from a school in Nigeria and now finally reunited with their loved ones. The children were held captive for nearly 3 months, kidnapped by armed gangs last May. A 5-year-old boy died during captivity. Another group of gunmen released 15 students who were abducted 11 days ago at a college in the country's northwest. Authorities are vowing they won't let the perpetrators get away.
I can assure you that we will do whatever it takes to bring them to justice. We have put in place all necessary measures to hunt down and prosecute those involved in this heinous act.
Well, for more on this story, let's go live to France 24's Sam Olukoya, who is in Lagos. Sam, it's been a day of joy for dozens of families, but dozens of others are still waiting for their children. Kidnapping has become almost an industry for armed gangs trying to make money.
Absolutely. Kidnapping has become a huge industry in Nigeria. We've seen these events happening repeatedly. We're aware that the governor said those who perpetrated these acts in that particular state will be apprehended. Many will assume or think that this is being said for the cameras because the government has had very limited success in terms of, one, rescuing abducted school children, two, apprehending those who have committed this act. In this particular case, we are talking of children that have been held for 3 months. Perpetually on different occasions, it's been told that the parents paid ransom, and their release actually was not as a result of any effort by the government or security agencies, but because the parents pay ransom. The cases of kidnapping are increasing. People have to pay ransom to secure the release of their children, and that shows that the government has completely lost grip of the situation. And the solution, as far as many parents are concerned, is to pay ransom and get their children out of captivity. Even if those who perpetrated this act are arrested, the trauma for these children may be there for life. I mean, in this case, we know of children of about 3 years, 4 years, who are held captive for 3 months in very difficult conditions. They may never forget this, and I think apprehending them will do very little to assuage the situation for these children and their parents.
Press 24's Sam Olukoya reporting to us live from Lagos. Sam, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a look now at some other stories making headlines today. The Algerian government says it will not renew a gas supply agreement with Morocco. This comes just days after the country severed diplomatic relations with its neighbor. The contract will expire in October. Right now, Morocco is taking some 900,000 cubic meters of Algerian natural gas from the Maghreb-Europe pipeline, which runs from Algeria to Morocco and on to Spain and Portugal. Algeria cut ties with Morocco earlier this week after accusing the country of supporting separatist groups. Mali's former interim president and prime minister have been released from house arrest. Ban Dao and Mokhtar Wan had been ousted in May. It was the second coup since the overthrow of Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta last year. The committee, specifically set up to monitor the political transition in Mali, says it welcomes the decision. Elections are currently scheduled for next February. German vaccine maker BioNTech says it is looking into building production sites in Rwanda and Senegal. The sites would produce vaccines against malaria and tuberculosis. BioNTech says they would be based on messenger RNA technology, the same that is being used in its COVID-19 shot, which is currently mass-produced by Pfizer. The news comes as Germany says it will be sending up to 70 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines to the continent this year. Over the past 10 years, residents in Nairobi's Dandora district have been working to transform their neighborhood, creating green spaces and gardens for the community. A decade of hard work, and today their efforts are beginning to bear fruit. Laurent Berstecher has the story.
A green oasis in the heart of Nairobi's Dandora district. 10 years ago, this patch of land was used as a garbage dump by the city's wealthy residents. But thanks to the tireless work of Charles Gachanga and his organization Mustard Seed, the space has been completely transformed.
This started in 2013. This was the biggest dump site in my community here around.
With the help of a few volunteers, Gachanga cleared out the space, planted flowers and trees, and even set up a free library for children. He hopes the initiative can help bring about change in a neighborhood where crime and poverty remain rampant. Former delinquent Evans Otiendo now dedicates much of his time working in the garden, and he wants others to follow in his footsteps.
We try to bring nature closer to the people because nature is very good even for your mental well-being, you see? And considering the Dandora, that mental state that people are thinking of crime, people are just thinking crime and the negative.
A place for learning and relaxing, but that also encourages creativity. Many local artists regularly visit the garden to shoot music videos or simply to draw inspiration from nature.
It makes us feel, alive. It makes us feel good. Sometimes we even are able to hear birds that we don't usually hear. So it makes us also want to do more of this, plant more trees maybe, and just bring the forest to the hood.
Since its creation in 2013, the project has inspired others. There are now over 20 community gardens in the Dandora district.
In this week's Reporters, we head to Goma in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The city is still reeling from the eruption of Mount Nyiragongo last May. Hundreds of homes were destroyed, but miraculously the lava stopped just short of city limits. Experts, though, say locals aren't out of the woods just yet. Here's an excerpt of this week's Reporters by Clément Bonnereau and Juliette Dubois.
Hand in hand, Fanny and Patrick returned for the first time to the place they once called home. Buried under the solidified lava, the house they lived in for 17 years. 17 years swept away in an instant.
I see a small fence in the distance. That's how I recognize my house. It was our neighbor's fence. But I can't see my house anymore. It's covered by the lava. The volcano's taken everything.
That night, Fanny was working in her shop. Her husband, Patrick, was at home with their 7 children when suddenly the sky burst into flames. Lava poured down the sides of the volcano at 100 kilometers per hour, destroying everything in its path. Horrified and confused, Patrick and the children waited until the last minute to flee.
When I saw my house go up in flames, I almost lost my balance. My head was spinning. I realized that my life was turning into a nightmare. All around me, the neighbors were going crazy.
Fanny, Patrick and their children took refuge in the nearby town of Sake. They've since returned to Goma, moving into this one-bedroom house. But the family is struggling to move on.
When I think about the volcano, I know that it can erupt at any time. I'm scared. The eruption has left a wound in my heart. I'll never forget it.
Like Fanny, some 2 million people live in the ominous shadow of Mount Nyiragongo. Standing at 3,470 meters above sea level, it's one of the most active and dangerous volcanoes on Earth. Its crater holds the world's largest permanent lava lake, which threatens to overflow at any time. In 1977 and 2002, the lake emptied in just minutes. This time again, experts failed to predict the eruption.
We didn't expect it so soon. We expected an eruption in the coming years because the risk had been increasing. The amount of lava inside the crater had increased. But we weren't ready for it to happen within days or months. We still have a lot to learn. We were clearly wrong.
Scientists, every new eruption is an opportunity to better understand the volcano's behavior. Dario Tedesco and a team of international researchers map out and monitor the new cracks that have formed around Goma.
This is a device we use to measure the flow of CO2 in the soil. We make these measurements all along the crack to see if there's carbon dioxide coming out of it.
Each crack is a potential opening for lava flows. By making these measurements on a regular basis, the researchers hope to identify new warning signs that could help predict future eruptions.
We measure the pressure. We measure the temperature inside the crack. With all this data, we can have a rough idea of when the next eruption is going to happen. It's not easy to say the exact date, but at least we can tell if the danger is there.
And you can watch the entire episode this Saturday at 7:10 p.m. GMT or online anytime at France24.com. That does it for Eye on Africa. Georgia Calvin Smith is back here on Monday, and I'll see you next time.